Hello and welcome to the Crone Codes, a gathering place for women of all ages and all stages to remember your worth, your purpose, and your power. I'm your host, the creator and resident crone, Joan Advent. Hello and welcome. I am Joan Advent, and today I am delighted to welcome Casey Baker to join me. Welcome, Casey.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so happy to be here with you.
Yay! I know. I was just remembering, I think it's been 10 years since I have known of you and your work.
Wow.
And I first came across your work through another podcast with,
Oh, really?
I think, Amy Ehlers, like way,
Oh,
way back.
Amy. Oh, wonderful. Love her.
Yes. So we're going to dive into a number of Crone codes today, but I want to begin by sharing Casey's bio with you. And I actually want you to close your eyes and receive this almost like a meditation. As you hear what I'm sharing about Casey and all that she has explored, created, and done, just want you to receive the codes and to consider what are the Crone codes that she has already gathered in her medicine basket, so to speak, and what are the codes that perhaps you are still learning or eager to learn or aspiring to, and to use this experience as a way to receive that more deeply for yourself. So, the fullness of Casey, at least one or two dimensions of that. Casey Baker has been a pioneer for the last 16 years in bringing a feminine approach to public speaking and leadership training with her unique embodiment and nervous system rewiring practices. Her company, Woman Speak, has speaking circles around the world and teaches women how to cultivate internal safety and freedom to speak up authentically in their personal and professional lives. Several years ago, while running her company and raising her child, and after experiencing betrayal and loss of a significant romantic relationship, she experienced deep fatigue, stress, health, and hormone issues. She discovered feminine Qigong practices, and they completely transformed her energy, her vitality, and stress levels, and healed her heart and her womb. She has now started Velvet Flow, a practice incorporating sensual movement and feminine Qigong to help women learn to use their sexual energy for creating greater health, deeper serenity, and abiding happiness. Casey has spoken and taught at the United Nations in Switzerland. She was an advisor on authentic communication for Senator Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and had supported women in speaking on stages like TED, Pioneers, the American Heart Association, Wisdom 2.0. She is a mama. She is a certified Tantra and Taoist teacher, and she is a stewardess of sacred land, in Sedona, Arizona, and a deep, deep lover of nature. Welcome, Casey,
Thank you.
with the richness of all that you bring and all that you are.
Mm.
Hmm. Yes. So I invited you initially to join us to talk about something that feels really critical to me as far as women who are gathering all the personal and universal codes that allow us to embody the crone is learning how to ask, learning how to make authentic asks,
Mhm.
learning how to make big asks, learning how to ask from a place of deep vision and connectedness.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So I would love if you are open to sharing some stories, some wisdom, how you even learned to ask. Did you always know how to ask for what you
Ah,
wanted?
I think that there were some things that in particular felt very hard to ask for growing up. And then later in life, when there were things that I really connected to that felt so important, that were my vision and my desire, I had to go through a lot in order to find the courage and to really own the value of what I was asking for. And so, yeah, it's definitely been such a journey. I mean, emotional things were always very hard for me for a long time. Asking for what I needed emotionally in my life has been a journey. That's been a journey. And that's a big thing. Oftentimes we'll think about asking for things like what we want materially, or our work or investment or things like that is definitely one realm. But then there's also the realm that's like behind closed doors about how do you ask for what your heart needs, and those I have found have been very difficult and a huge right place of learning. And now that's just so much easier for me, but
Mm.
only through having gone through the challenges and the practice. So, yeah, I'm very happy to share stories on any spectrum you would like for me to share about. And finding that freedom to ask for what we want really is a journey of deepening into the value of just who we are and what it is that we care about and what it is that we desire. And so taking on the adventure and the challenge of really thinking about what is something that I really want in my life or that I dream about that I don't have all the resources for. And really starting that quest of learning to ask is one of the most tremendous journeys of really deepening into such self love and empowerment. And I think it really touches and affects everything in our lives. So, if anybody's listening and they have something that they really are connecting to around something they feel they really want to ask for, I just really want to present how holy that is.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That sense of desire or longing or vision or
Mm-hmm.
purpose, similar to what you were naming, knowing that there's something you're meant to do that's
Yes.
that's bigger than you and that will require dig, digging deep to get to have the
Mm-hmm.
courage or to stand in the willingness to be a voice for that.
Yes.
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 And
Yes. It's a deep river for there's so much to say about it. I don't want to go down a tangent. If you want to start with me telling this Charlie Tale story, but I could start getting on my soapbox about all the visions that die, that are amazing visions in the world because we feel so embarrassed to ask or so afraid of rejection.
yes.
And so learning how to do this is just one of the most important things in order to really create the world that we know is possible for ourselves and for the broader world as well. Yeah.
Yes. And that is exactly that is exactly why I wanted to start with you and with this. Because
Mm,
certainly, as aspiring crones or rising crones or full-on crones, I see it as our call to help create the world that our visions are inspiring us to create, that is a sacred responsibility and mantle. And if we don't know how to be a voice for it, if we don't know how to ask, if we don't know how to risk putting it out there, those visions do die off.
mm, mm.
And we don't become the women we have the capacity to be. It's like
Yes.
the both and. So I have heard you share many powerful stories.
Yeah.
The story of your land in Sedona. And
Oh my gosh. Well, that one really is that one grew me. It one grew me deep in this capacity. So yeah, I think that's a great story to start with. I think it's a great story. Okay, so I think it really needs to start with the fact that I in 2006, no, six, five, I was living in New York City and having just a very wild life there. Amazing life. I was very deep in the Mama Gina's community, if you're familiar with her work, and running around the city with my girlfriends, exploring living in pleasure and our desire. And it was just the best. It was the best. Pre-child, all the things. And then I had a dream one night. Actually, I woke up one morning and I woke up from a dream of these red rocks and the just infinite intensity feeling of longing in my heart. And I was like, what is this? I didn't know where they were. I didn't I didn't have any clue, but I just knew wherever that was, I had to go there. Like I was clearly being, and it felt weird to me, like the rocks were communicating with me. But
wow.
then I forgot it and I went on with my busy Manhattan life. And 1 month later, I woke up the exact same vision, exact same feeling. And I was like, okay, it was so strong, the feeling of longing in my heart that I was like, I got to go to the Southwest. Clearly, these are in the Southwest. So that summer, I went to the Southwest searching for these rocks. And I rented a car and I drove around different places. And I ended up driving one day into Sedona, Arizona. And it was just wham. The vision of those rocks in my dreams appeared right before me. I burst into tears and laughter, and my favorite song at the time came on the radio, and I just knew that I was home. And on those 4 days that I spent in Sedona, I was led down to this area of Sedona that is called Red Rock Crossing. And it's at the creek. There's this beautiful sacred creek that runs through Sedona called Oak Creek. And it's a place where you can stand at the creek and you can see this one particular rock formation called Cathedral Rock, which I know you know. And it's really stunning. The vision with the creek and the rock, it's like on all the postcards. It's actually the most photographed. It's the most photographed image of the American Southwest, even more than the Grand Canyon,
Wow.
which is what saying something. It's pretty wild. And I had an experience there of falling so deeply in love with this place. And I experienced a love unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I experienced so much deep clarity of what I was to be doing in the world. It was really the beginning of my tuning into the work that I was to be doing with women's voices and the vision. And all I wanted was to be right there. That's all I wanted. It was my temple, my place to pray. And it is actually for so many other people. It's where weddings happen. It's where it's a ceremonial place. It's considered the feminine energy vortex area of Sedona. So I end up moving there. And long story short, I have this picture of that area, Red Rock Crossing, Cathedral Rock with the creek, above my altar. And I'm living in Sedona in this other house, not down there, but I go travel down there all the time. And I have it above my altar. Every morning I'm meditating in front of it. It's just like, it's just the presence was so profound in my life. And everywhere I traveled for the next 10 years, and I lived in California, I had different homes, even took this photograph with me to Burning Man. I was just obsessed in the most devotional way with this place. And there's this one little house right there where you stand in front of the house on the lawn and that's the view. And there's only one house. It's surrounded by national park and there's some neighbors like across the creek on the other side and behind, but it's the only one that's right there. And I remember taking in 2009, I had moved to San Francisco or 10 or whatever it was, and I was traveling to Sedona like for 3 months out of the year, every year. I just couldn't be away from it. And I met this wonderful man who would later become my fiance and the husband and the father of my son, and is now my ex-husband. But he came with me after 3 months of dating in 2010 and to Sedona to see this place that I love so much. And we stood down on the creek, and I remember saying to him, I have one dream. I have one dream. My one dream in this whole life is to live right here in this little house right here, just so I can have my temple right here all the time. And he said to me, I want to help you make that dream possible.
Mm.
And it was such a sweet moment. And we both remember it so deeply, but it was like a seed and the power of sharing a genuine desire in the space of someone who has such fertile listening, right? And he
Yeah.
does, right? Holds the field of possibility and in your greatness. Those are gem people you want to keep close in your life, right? So time goes on, we get engaged, we're living in San Francisco. I end up getting pregnant. And when I'm pregnant, I'm like, I really want to move to Sedona. And so we moved to Sedona. We lived in this other wonderful house. And we lived there for a year and a half. And there's my picture. I'm actually looking, this picture is like in my hall right here, the same picture. And so we had to move back to San Francisco for his work. And I was heartbroken. And we moved back, and our marriage was just totally on the rocks. It was a rough time. And we moved back to California in 2015, and we get separated. And I am just beside myself because I miss Sedona so deeply. I'm exhausted as a new mother. I'm now separated. I have, during those years before I had my son, I was just, live events and group programs. But after I had my son, I actually made the decision to just focus on private work. So my income was not as high as it had been. And I really needed to get away for a little time just to figure out my finances in this place of separation. So one of my clients, Christine Carlson, who's the co-author of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff and the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff series with her past husband, who's passed, her late husband, I should say. Anyways, she was so generous. She was like, you come stay she has this house by the sea, and she was like, go stay there for a couple days. And so I went, and I took with me this book by Tony Robbins, Money, that I just gotten. And he guides people through this process of getting really clear on, in the later years of your life, what do you need for your income? How much money do you have saved to do that? Like, it was this amazing process. And I did this process, and he asked some great questions. Like, what do you think your elder self is going to really want?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there's just one thing. I just really I want to live in that little home in Sedona. I just felt so much love of the vision. I mean, it was just so amazing. And I wrote it down. And then I just was like, and I remember just being like, well, I'm just gonna go and check it out on Zillow. So I grab my phone, and I'm sitting on this little couch, and I go on Zillow, and I find the house. And I am shocked because the house is for sale. And not only is it for sale, it went for sale in the last 24 hours.
Oh my God.
I mean, I am just I'm freaking out. I am freaking out. I mean, this is absolute magic. And I call my mom. My mom is just as excited as I am. She's so great. And my mom, and I'm trying, I'm just like really trying not to think about how am I gonna buy it. I'm a newly separated mom of a little kid whose income I turned down the last like 2 years. Like, but
Right.
I just couldn't, the excitement and the awe was so much that I just didn't really let myself go there. And I called the agent, and his name is Roy Grimm, and he picks up the phone, and I'm like, Roy, my name is Casey Baker, and I'm calling about the little house. And I gave the address, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, it's already under contract. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, we got over 40 calls to put in an application in the last like 18 hours. It's
Wow.
been insane. It's already under contract. I'm like, no, you don't like, you don't understand. This is my home. And he's like, I'm sure he's like, who's this crazy person? It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's under contract. And I was like,
Mm.
I, I, th- how can this be? And he's like, I can show you other houses. Like, there are no other houses. And he's like, okay, well, you can call me back. Maybe it'll fall through, but most of the time they don't, but you're welcome to call me back. And I was like, okay. And I was just could not, how could this possibly, how could this be? This is just too magical. Like, how could that? So I called my, recently separated husband, David, and I told him, and he was just, oh my God. I mean, he was like, Casey, hold the faith.
Mm.
Hold the faith. I mean, he was such my champion in this. Hold the faith. And I it became I was so clear. I just let myself get into the space of just this intense ecstasy of the vision of bringing women to my land, of being on my land, and the full blown pleasure filled ecstasy, the joy through my whole body. And then there was this other part that was just devastated, you know? And so it began the beginning of this journey of being in this stretch between maintaining my energy of excitement and the just the devastation of it. So anyways, I really prayed on it. I even went to Sedona. I prayed. I said, look, if you want, I went to the land and I was like, look, if you want me to steward this land, I'm here. I will steward it. And if you don't, then like I turn it over, and I turned it over. And then a couple days later, I'm leading a woman speak event in San Francisco. There's like 40 women in the room. We go on break. I check my phone and I get a text message from Roy Grimm. And he said, hey, the contract fell through. And you're the first person I'm calling.
Oh,
And he said, I'm actually changing to a new real estate agent. So the listing is not going to update as showing available for sale for about 4 days.
wow.
So you have 4 days to figure it out.
Wow.
And I will never forget sitting on that stairwell in this place by myself during lunch, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I have to come up with an $80,000 down payment in those 4 days. Like to
Wow.
secure it. Like there's no way. How am I going to do this? And I was like, I got to figure it out. So first I went to my ex-husband and I made the outrageous ask if he would be willing to go in on the loan with me for this house. And that was a big question because we had just separated. But he knew how magical this was, and he just knew he'd been so in on this vision for so many years at this point. And he was like, yeah. And we'd figure out the refinancing in a couple of years. And he was willing. I was so grateful. And so we began the journey and we applied, we got pre approved. And I had to come up with the down payment. And I didn't have it. I did not have it. He did not have it. I wasn't going to ask him for a cent for it.
Mhm.
And I, didn't have money from family, but, it was just, so I started just having to be like, what are the things that I need to do? I just got really bold and I was so drawn forward by the vision in such a deep way of how can I get this land to protect this sacred land? And I first started by sending out an email to my whole email list, telling them about the vision for this land and how sacred it is. And, would you be willing to help me make it real and, give me a loan for $5,000, $10,000? I mean, it was such a vulnerable,
Yes.
what are they going to think of me?
Mm.
Who does this? To buy my own house, you know?
Yeah.
I'm asking people to give me money to buy my house. I mean, like, but the land was so much more to me than just my house, right?
Right.
It really was to steward the sacred land. And so I will never forget, I got a phone call about 30 minutes later from a dear friend, Ali Shanti. She was like, I will give you $10,000 loan. And
Oh,
it was the first person. And it was just the confidence that that gave me was so huge. So
yes.
then I was flying to New York that day, and I was like, okay, I got to make this happen. It was really clear it was going to take personal reach outs. And so I made a list of like 80 people, 80
Wow.
women, past clients, current clients, friends, colleagues. And I don't drink caffeine, but I had a pot of coffee. And then I went in this courtyard out behind this apartment building in New York where I was, and I spent all day dialing and talking to people and asking, making this courageous ask for help and support. And within that 48 hours, I'd raised $80,000. And it came
Wow.
in the form of both loans that I would repay, it came in the form of people prepaying for private client work. And we did it. And I was able to get the deposit. So we got the deposit. It was a massive triumph. It was so amazing. I'll never forget taking the money I'd received into the bank to deposit the whole thing and realizing all of this had come from a community of women
Hmm.
that came together to support my vision.
Wow.
It was incredible, giving what they could, $5,000, $10,000. So we had that. And then we thought, hopefully, it'd be pretty easy from there to just get the remainder of the mortgage on the house and we closed, and that was it, except for the fact that we got denied
Mm.
because David owned a very large share of his company. And if you own more than 25% of your company, they
Hmm.
evaluate you much more differently as a high risk. And we both did, both of us did. And so we got turned down. It was devastating. And then we got to go to another lender and then got turned down again. And it was so scary. We were doing all these things, thinking we could work with different lenders, who work with entrepreneurs and all this stuff. And the people who were selling the house, the woman who had lived there for years, who had died, raised her four sons there,
Mm.
I think they just knew that I was going to be like really central to this. They felt something about me. And because their mother, like when I went to the house and looked through the house, they still had a bunch of her stuff. It was a whole stack of paintings and
Mm.
artwork that had been on her walls, and every single one was an image of Cathedral Rock. Like she was a priestess of Cathedral Rock. Like I think they felt that with me. And so they were willing to work with me to extend the closing. We extended the closing 4 times. For
Wow.
4 months, they
Wow.
let me extend it. I was paying their mortgage by the end, and we kept getting shut down. It was devastating, Joan. Like I was in the most profound feelings of devastation. And I'll remember there was a woman who I really love, but she said to me, she was like, maybe if it's not feeling easy, maybe it's just not meant to be. It's this whole spiritual teaches, let it be easy, just sit like an egg and let it all come to you. That whole thing.
Yes.
And I was like, no. Like, because here was the thing. If I didn't exercise everything within my power, within me, to ask for support or to find a way, I knew that I would regret that for the rest of my life.
Oh,
It was so deep. It
yes.
would be the biggest regret of my life if I did not find the courage
Mm.
to do the things that were within my power to do, but I felt so much about
Hmm.
like who goes out and asks people for $400,000? A bad girl,
Mm,
bad girl, bad, bad. We do not do that. You don't ask for too much. And
yeah.
then what if you get rejected and you feel so effing embarrassed for having asked,
Yes.
right? Like that wound of the fear of the deepest rejection and not feeling worthy of asking for it and feeling like, who am I to do? Like it was so flared. I was had to face that in the deepest way. It just brought me right deep into it. And I had to hold the pole of the ecstasy and the joy of this vision to keep me moving forward alongside this profound despair. I mean, it was the ultimate intense stretch of my heart. And literally, it was September, the end of September, and the owners came and they said, "I am so sorry. We have someone ready to pay cash." I had 3 days.
Mm,
Even just talking about it right now just brings me back. It was so intense. It was just like, how could I lose this dream? You know, my most precious dream.
yeah.
And I was just crying all the time, you know, and knowing that I had to do the thing that I was so terrified to do, which I eventually did. I made this, I was had crying, snot, the whole thing coming down my face, and I sent a message to this friend that actually was someone I had dated very briefly who knew about my vision about this, and he was a deep earth keeper. He is a very wealthy, um works in clean energy and has a VC firm for clean energy. He does profound work on the planet for the planet and is a very wealthy individual. Had another girlfriend by now, you know, in a relationship. I had felt even sort of rejected by him. I mean, this
Oh,
was
God.
not easy, you know? So I sent him this message and I am like, we didn't get the house. I need to ask you to buy it because I really need somebody to, this land needs to be protected. It's too precious to be turned over to somebody who doesn't get it and won't hold it in that way. And he was at Burning Man. And he calls me back. Thank God that there is cellular at Burning Man. And he calls me back. He's like, listen, let's figure this out. And he's like, I don't have the available cash in the next 48 hours to make the purchase. But if you can find two people or someone or a group of
Mhm.
people who can front the cash, I will be the guarantor on that loan.
Mm.
And then I will pay them back within 6 months. And then you and I will have this loan together. And then you can get refinancing and we'll figure it out. Ah, so amazing. But I
Oh,
still had to find the money.
yes.
So then I'm like, oh my God. I mean, my heart was just okay. And so then I called this other man who I had really, it was part of my community from California, who I'd really only one time had a really wonderful, sweet connection with at Burning Man, like
Mhm.
several years before. And we just had a really sweet friendship, you know, a really delightful friendship that I didn't know him deeply at all, though, you know. But I knew he loved the earth. He's a deep earth protector and he's a very successful businessman. So I called him. And in a conversation, it lasted maybe 90 seconds. I said, Bertram. And I told him real quickly the situation and the story. I was like, I need to ask you if you can loan me money and essentially help create this private mortgage. And I told him the situation. He's like, done. I can send you $150,000. I needed to get like 432,000. And I was like, okay. And this was amazing. And I was like, thank you. Oh, I was flipping out. And then I called this other man who also was part of my community in California. I did not know him well, but he knew a little bit of my story about this land and very successful. And I called him. Again, it took maybe 60 seconds to share my heart and vulnerably ask for this support. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And these two men came together, and my friend Allie, who was the first person to loan me $10,000, she's a lawyer. I called her. She pulled together all the contracts. We got it all done. And within 48 hours, we had the funds and I was signing on the dotted line and I
Hmm.
had the house. And it
Whoa.
was just unbelievable. The moment of joy and almost disbelief, I mean, just awe, and the gratitude that this
Mm,
entire community came together to do this still just blows me away.
mm,
It blows me away. It blows me away. And this property has been a place where I've both raised my son. I now live in Scottsdale because of my son's medical and education needs, but we still have this beautiful property and I share it with people on Airbnb. But I have hosted so many incredible experiences for women on this land, incredible retreats and commitment ceremonies to their wisdom. And
mm.
it has been, it is just, it's so profoundly special. And the lesson for me in all of this, I mean, sometimes I really am like, what else do I need to really go for in my life and do courageous asking up about, because you can create so much. And I think that it's easy to think that we're alone and we've got to make it all happen. And that's what our society tells us. It also tells us that there's these underlying messages as women that we shouldn't ask for too much, that we shouldn't be
Absolutely.
too much.
Yes.
But actually, it's our ability to share a vision and invite others into participating in that vision that is our superpower. And especially, I think, at any time, but as we get older, the refinement of our vision and our wisdom is one of the highest expressions of our soul. And so bringing voice to invite others into vision is something that, I mean, I don't think there's anything more worthwhile to learn and to stretch yourself to do for the impact of yourself and for others. We have really strong plans and have been of protecting this land so it could never be wildly developed.
Hmm.
In my lifetime, that's
Hmm.
part of our vision of really preserving the sanctuary. And that's what we're doing with it. But everybody has incredible vision and dreams. We all have dreams. We all have dreams. And oftentimes we tell ourselves these dreams, they're so big, huh? But we don't do the things inside to
Right.
to bring
Right.
it out. And I think some of it is like my friend who I really disagree. Like if it's not easy, but sometimes even if it's not easy, it doesn't mean it's not worth it. And the truth is that our dreams are the things that call us into evolving into who we're meant to become.
Exactly.
And that's not always easy. Um,
Exactly.
but it will deepen us. Yeah. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that's my wild
Exactly.
story. And I hope that there's somebody who's listening right now who's like,
All right.
I'm going to go make some phone calls. That's what I hope this does to someone out there. If you're feeling that, go do it.
Go do it now.
Go do it. Go do it.
Exactly. Because I can imagine the who you were at the start of that and the who you were when you signed that dotted line.
Oh my gosh.
Massive
Massive.
expansion.
Yeah. And what expanded in my work with Woman Speak in the
Yes.
years following that, I think I really had to go through that portal to be able to really hold that expansion of that
Yes.
work.
Yes. There's so much packed in that, the issue of the willingness, the value of ourselves, of our vision, our courage, our willingness to receive, like your willingness to receive the support and know that you could have that, that could be given to you. There are so many places where we can get stuck along the way, but
Yes.
making those big asks and even that sense of opening to the ecstatic of the vision and of the dream. Through my lens, I see like the sacred coming through our heart's desires and calling us to be those women and those presences and those forces in the world.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It is. And what a gift when you have the resources to be able to participate in something that is so beautiful and meaningful as protecting sacred
Yes,
land in this case. But people all want to be part of something inspiring.
absolutely.
They do. They really do. And I think it's important to remember that because it can be an internal disconnect inside of ourselves. Like it's inspiring to us, but there's some kind of self value piece that's a little unintegrated. And we can think
Yeah.
nobody would want to support this, but actually, people would love to be a part of your beautiful vision and dream if you let them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So I wish that we could unpack so many more pieces of this because I just want to express I have received the gift of Women Speak. And this is a core lesson that you teach the how to be a voice for your vision, how to open up your voice, how to feel safe in your body. And then the whole velvet flow dimension, that's a whole other piece to unpack, which we don't have the time for today. But the integration of all that you bring, the I think about the land and the embodiment, and even in your story, like the feminine community coming together and then the masculine coming in to support,
Yes.
and the integration of all of that, and you getting to be the nexus point for that, like you getting to be the conduit for all of that to flow through to create this amazing sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, I mean, so heart exploding to feel the depth of support. And I think that is here waiting for all of us when we're waiting to be vulnerable and speak from that place of what our need and our desire is. We get to experience how actually, in so many ways, kind and benevolent and loving and supportive the world can be.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. So we need to bring this to a close for today. If you want to go a little bit deeper, we will have some bonus content which you can check out. I'll put the link in the show notes, and I'm going to have all the ways to learn about Casey's work, all of her websites, and even a free gift, which is do you want to say what it is? It's a beautiful velvet flow, like 20-25 minute experience.
Yes, yes. And actually, you can tell me if this is right because we have a beautiful velvet flow practice that will help
Yes.
you to deeply regulate your nervous system. It's extraordinary for your health and vitality. But I'm also happy to provide a free gift of an ebook that we have called Speak Up that I think may be
Yeah.
very helpful in regards to this conversation that really helps women to find the freedom to speak up and get clear on what they're actually speaking up for. So I think that could be very connected to this conversation. So I'm happy to send that over too.
Beautiful. Thank you for
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So, thank you for taking the time to be with me today and to be with us and to share your just potent, powerful story.
Oh, thank you for having me. Such a sweet, sweet time being with you. Thank you.
Yes. And I want to say thank you to our listeners and to remind you that as you are making your ripples in life, that you are loved and you are love.
So true.
Thank you for joining us today on the Crone Codes podcast. If you appreciated what was shared, please rate, review, subscribe, and comment wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to go deeper into the Crone Codes with curated bonus content created just for you, join our Crone Codes members community on Substack and receive prompts, tools, and resources for your wise woman journey.